after hours got me charged and open, living for the night like it is golden. Yeah, I came to win, I'm never folding. I just wanna dance among the stars. These after hours got me charged and I just wanna dance among the stars. I just wanna dance among the stars. I just wanna dance among the stars. These after hours got me charged and
All right, guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 152. Just want to welcome everybody back in on this Thursday evening, last actual day in November as we kind of head towards December 2023. I want to welcome in for the first time our special guest, Cory Bridges. Cory, thank you for coming on the podcast tonight.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. So what we're going to be talking about tonight, guys, if you guys saw promotion, maybe you didn't say it, but what we're talking about tonight is this is going to be our mental health series part 3. What we're going to be covering is anything from depression, anxiety, seasonal depression. We'll talk about coping mechanisms. We'll talk about triggers, just ultimately trying to spread awareness as it's been about a year almost since we've done our last mental health episode here. We're going to be joined also by special guest Kandyce Scott. She's been on here once or twice before. She'll eventually be on tonight. And then, George, he may be popping in, but George is, away right now. So he's working. So we'll see if George can join us as well. But without further ado, we'll just hop into this tonight. Just want to say, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that notification button to turn notifications on. We release new content every single week, either related to personal development, sports, mental health, and you don't want to miss it. If you're watching on Facebook, assuming you're already part of the group, hit the like button, comment below. We'll put your comments on the screen here tonight if you decide to comment in. But yeah, man. So this is exciting, man. First time having you on the pod, man. This is, like I said, it's very free flowing. So we usually just have people that'll comment in. Sometimes people don't, but a lot of times they do, depending on what we're talking about. So yeah, man, glad to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, no problem, man. And I just want to announce, guys, Cory, you work as a case manager, right?
So I did casework. I worked in investigations, investigating child abuse. Now I do counseling for families involved with the Department of Human Services where I live.
That's awesome, man. And
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm sure you've dealt with some of the things with like mental health issues and stuff like that, obviously working in that field and everything like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's great, man. I do want to make the disclaimer also. I always like to do this before we go live on these mental health issues. Obviously, guys, we are not licensed psychologists. So if you are dealing with anything related to mental health, we're actually just talking about this. Community is big behind you, but I do want to say, if you're dealing with serious mental health issues, recommendation is to just reach out to a licensed professional who can handle this, so they can work with you on those lines. But I am excited to get into this tonight. Awareness is super important. We were kind of talking behind the scenes about this, but and community is super important too, right? Like I think it's important to consult a licensed professional if you are dealing with serious mental health issues, but if you can't reach out to your community and you got a strong support system behind you, it is great to be able to utilize that support system in your time of need.
Absolutely. Some clients I work with, I call it, I don't know if you remember back in the 90s, but like when you were a kid on your fridge, you'd have like the number to 911 and maybe like your local fire department or whatever emergency contacts. I call it a fire list. So it's a list of people that you will call in a time of crisis or in a time of need, and that's going to be like family members, friends, or reliable people that will pick up the phone if you need them. So yeah, absolutely. And if you have any viewers that have like, something going on and they feel like they need to talk to someone and don't have like any direction, you can pass on my information. They can shoot me an email and I'll be happy to help them find resources.
Absolutely. So guys, if you're watching in and you, if you're dealing with anything personal and you like Cory's information, just let me know. You can either comment in or you can just send me a personal message. And I will pass on that information for you guys. We had a resource too before from our friend Layla, who's been on here, and I always like to extend this too because she works for a mental health clinic as well. It's called Talia, Talia, and I'll actually put it in the chat. Medical Center. I think it's actually towards. I think it's in Montgomery County as well.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Talia Medical Center, and they do a lot of different things regarding mental health services. So I always like to pass that information along. I always remember that source. But yeah, community is important. We were actually saying before the podcast, obviously mental health and depression, it affects not just it affects everyone, not just men or women, both sides of it. One of the things we were actually saying is it's great that like more men are also talking about this, not to exclude women at all or anything like that, but it is great that men are starting to talk about this more, because I think we were both in agreement. Back in like the day, like, when we were growing up, a lot of men, they didn't really talk about these things as much. You're seeing a lot of this younger generation more talking about their mental health problems with people, which I think is very, very important.
Absolutely. And even though like in this country, in the US, we're making like a push towards mental health awareness for young men and old men alike, you still see in like other cultures. I have friends from other cultures, people that are wonderful people that I work with from other cultures, and clients that I have from other cultures who like, like for instance, I have a client from Egypt and they don't really have a big mental health push, and they haven't had it yet. So there's still people in the current day who don't really believe that mental health is a thing, and educating them on that and why they feel the way they do is important, especially amongst men. So absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. It's important because, I feel like specifically like depression is something that's very near and dear to me, because I've been surrounded by loved ones who have dealt with this personally, and it's I feel like a lot of people think that they're alone. It doesn't just have to be depression, but just mental health issues in general. But I was saying before we went live, 980 million people on record deal with mental health issues of some sort every single year. So when you really think of the grand scope, of things, it's 1 in 7 people. So mental health issues are fairly common. If you drill down on that number a little bit more, I believe the number was 290 million people per year deal with depression of some sort. Could be clinical, could be seasonal. So it is something that's like it's more common than people think. And I think a lot of times when I can't speak because I haven't personally dealt with depression. I have loved ones around me that have, but people tend to self-isolate a lot of times when they deal with depression. And I think a lot of times we have they have the negative voice inside their head. It's like kind of like a black cloud, and it kind of makes you think that like nobody understands you or anything like that. But it's crazy to think that it's much more common than people think. Maybe I was also thinking maybe more people didn't really talk about it as much back in the day too. So maybe the number was smaller because not as many people reported that they dealt with that type. You know what I mean? That type
Absolutely.
of thing.
Definitely
So, yeah. So that number could be higher now because more people are starting to talk about it. Whereas back in the day, it was kind of people just said all the wrong things. You know, like suck it up. Oh, it's just that. It's like no, that's some of the worst things you can say to somebody that's dealing with something like that is something like that. It's one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, it's scary because I mean, currently we're dealing, excuse me, with I would call it like the perfect storm of bad circumstances in terms of post pandemic life, in terms of opioid epidemic, people's over reliance on substances. A lot of the times with mental health providers, you're seeing really long wait lists due to the sheer number of people dealing with depression and anxiety and other disorders. And I mean that with the impact that social media has had on our abilities to talk to one another, and supplementing online talking for person-to-person contact. I mean, you have millions and hundreds of millions of people that feel alone, and those are only the people willing to report it, or that are even acknowledging the fact that they feel depressed or down. So it's scary, which is why this conversation needs to be had more often amongst more people, especially vulnerable populations.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I love that you brought up social media there too. So a lot of studies have shown there's definitely it's kind of like a link between social media and depression too. That's a big thing, and like it's a lot of people. It's because of like comparative analysis. Everybody's like looking at what other people are doing, and it's like it's natural that we compare our lives to other people. Unfortunately, everybody's life track is completely different. But in the moment, a lot of times people get caught up with seeing like some people they went to high school with. They're like, oh, look, they're achieving all these things, and I'm just stuck at this spot of my life.
Absolutely.
Everybody's trajectory is different. But a lot of times that voice inside our head, it kind of tends to tell us like, oh, we're not doing enough in life. And then people tend to feel like shit about themselves. And they, that can definitely trigger depression as well. Maybe it's like called, maybe I know there's different types of depression. So maybe it's like situational depression, maybe not necessarily clinical, but still it's a form of depression, and it can, there's a lot of link to it.
Yeah. It's like a snowball effect. Like you roll a snowball down at the top of a hill. Eventually when it gets to the bottom, it'll be larger than it was when it started. And that's a good point. You brought up comparative analysis. People tend to present themselves in a way that isn't totally true, not to say that it's like invalid, but they present themselves compared to the thief of joy. That's
exactly
precisely what it is. That's a good quote. But people tend to present themselves in a way that is more palatable to others. So if you see someone and the only time they ever post a photo is when they're on vacation in Tahiti, you might feel like, hey, what am I doing wrong that I can't afford those luxuries?
Exactly. And that actually just makes our life worse, because the more you compare and then you get into a darker depression, it's like you're not going to feel good about yourself, and you're not actually going to be moving forward and trying to elevate your life, because you can just fall into a rut. It's kind of like you're right. It's like a snowball effect. It kind of just stagnates us and just kind of keeps us in a certain position. And I want to say comparison is thief of joy. I always like to. So Facebook is like weird for some people. It shows their name, other people it doesn't. That's my boy Rob that just commented in. I just checked the Facebook.
What's up, Rob?
Rob, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy. Absolutely, absolutely.
It's unfortunate. And it's not to discount social media. Social media has wonderful uses. Steve, you're like a very enterprising person, so it's great for networking, keeping up with relatives, but it's sort of morphed into something that I would guess probably wasn't its intended purpose. And it's a tool for people to use it as like a mirror to analyze themselves. And I don't have any social media because I'm one of those people, but some people aren't. So, it works for them. So you just got to figure out what works for you. And if it's something that you don't see having a positive or a net positive influence on your life, then maybe it's something that you could consider reducing your use with.
Exactly. And you're right. I think most people, they use it as a mirror. A lot of people want everybody they want to showcase their whole life, and they want to like show what they're doing and everything. There's nothing wrong with, like showing your life and showing different things. But a lot of people, they take those things and they're like, oh, like you said, this person's traveling here. This person's doing this. Oh, this person's got the perfect relationship. It's like, you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Everybody in life
Really?
deals with problems. Everybody in life deals with issues. So yes, they might have like certain things, but also like I know someone I went to high school with. He's got like a net worth of multi-million dollars in real estate right now. But I can tell you right now, just from personally knowing him, in the hours that he put in, 100+ hour weeks when he was in his 20s, people don't understand. He put in the work to obtain that. It's like people don't just get these things like overnight. It's like, but then people go, "Oh, why am I not here and there?" It's like, yeah, but you enjoyed more of your life during those days, and there's nothing wrong with that. You enjoyed more of your life, while that person was probably working endlessly to obtain that. So like most people, like they don't understand like the story behind it. Like there was a lot of tough times that went behind him getting to that level, or somebody getting to that level. So everybody deals with issues. Everybody deals with problems. Everybody's life is different, and that's okay. We're all, it's
You're gonna be that guy they're talking about when they're gonna say, "Oh man, Steve's got this podcast and it's on Spotify with millions and millions of views," and you're gonna be like, "Man, you don't know how long he did this, how many hours he had to put in to get there." So
yeah, we're still growing very slowly but surely, man. But it takes time, it takes work, and it takes effort. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't just happen overnight. But yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, social media, it's like that can and then there's clinical, and then there's also, I wanted to talk about this one too. Seasonal depression is a big one, and it kind of happens around this time of the year right now, right? It's fall, it's getting dark earlier now. Like I was just out, and I was like, it already by like 4:45, it was like dark, and it's already it's getting dark earlier. So seasonal depression can technically happen at any time of the year. Everybody, it could be different, but for the majority of people, they say it happens. It's like almost like a winter depression. It happens in the winter and then kind of dissipates towards the spring and summer. But that affects a lot of people too. I actually know some people personally that deal with that.
I personally think that it has a bit of an influence on me. And as with everyone, during the wintertime, it's a lot darker. You're not at as many social events or around as many people as you would prefer. Funnily enough, I have my undergrad degree in pre-med bio. So, knowing like the mechanics behind it, humans being animals, in the wintertime, and millions of years ago, we would have been gathering food in a cave somewhere and preparing to hunker down for the winter. So knowing that it's the natural order of things to maybe be inside a little bit more, that helps, helps you to cope with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Kandyce.
What's going on? Welcome in. Welcome back to the podcast.
Sorry. Some things going on.
Happens to the best of us.
Yes, it does.
Yep. I know you're busy. I know you're busy, to say the least.
Yeah, it's just a lot going on. I know this had nothing to do, but just like being a mom and trying to get something to eat, and then having a company call you to give you a job offer while you're trying to do this as well, and then the internet's not working. So a lot going on.
It's a miracle I made it here on time. So
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, I was like, that's another thing, like kind of just going into like mental health and like people who are full-time parents and at the same time full-time workers. That's something that doesn't get talked about quite enough. It's like, if you're, you have the kid at school all day, and then it's like, but you're at work all day when they're in school, and then you have them all day when you get home. I mean, obviously it's part of being a parent, but it's like it's essential for those parents, whatever time they can find to, to practice self-care, whatever it is.
Yes.
Very important, because it's very, very stressful. Very stressful.
That's very true. Self-care, if you would have said the word self-care to me even 5 years ago, I would have looked at you like not in today's age, but no, it's possible and it's absolutely necessary. Self-care sometimes for some people like myself can be like what makes or breaks a situation, especially full-time parents and people that have jobs full-time. Being a parent isn't easy, and unfortunately when you're with your children all day, it's wonderful, but they aren't really like adults that you could have certain conversations with. So yes, self-care and having a community or a village is crucial to that.
Exactly. Yep, absolutely. I was gonna say, I think people too, like you and Kandyce both have kids of your own, right? You have kids, right, Cory?
Yes, I have a son. Yeah, 6-year-old son, a rambunctious, wonderful boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So you both understand. You both are parents. Hard working people, full time workers, and stuff like that. And it's it's also like important, I think, like too, like see you guys like right there kind of have a bond because it's like you both understand. It's like having a community of people around you. It's like they can kind of understand. It's like that's important. Like too. Even my one buddy, little different, but they hit my one buddy, Bryce, him and his wife. They have a child together, and his wife is, I believe she's I think she's Vietnamese, and he has said she found a community of moms that were same nationality, and they kind of just meet on Zoom and they talk and they like get together and they kind of talk together and everything like that. And they can relate because they're all moms and they're all the same culture, same background. It's really cool, but community is just so powerful. So
That's
powerful.
wonderful. Yeah, it is community. I mean, as long as you have your village and your group of people that you can go to and talk to, makes life a little bit easier.
Absolutely. I'm gonna say it's like one of the biggest coping mechanisms is community. They say, I was like reading something. It was speaking of like self-care. One of the biggest things that I was looking at an article was saying that some of the 10 most powerful coping mechanisms for depression, anxiety. One of them is self-care. They kind of separate it, but then also mindfulness and meditation. See, I feel like big time. That's a big one too. And then I guess just with that kind of comes practicing gratitude.
1,000%. Mindfulness, having a sense of self and being aware, sometimes during the day, if I find myself with any amount of downtime, like when I'm driving from one client to another, I'll practice mindfulness. I'll challenge my thoughts and like sort of, it's like a thought exercise to explain to myself why I feel the way I do. And it's helpful. Meditation, I don't get to do enough of that, but that's really helpful. Just meditation can be anything you want it to be. It doesn't have to you don't have to have like a yoga mat and, complete silence and, incense going to meditate, meditation can be anywhere. It's kind of like praying a little bit, but it's, it works and it can be anything you want it to be. As long as you do it, you'll find that things get a little bit easier.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like my car is like my therapy session. Like that's where I like pray. That's where I like think about, how I feel, like what can I do to, solve problems, or just like mindfulness, just giving myself that peace and that grace in that moment, just to help with, just my mental more than anything. I think it's so important, and my car is a place to go. That's where I cry. I know that's personal, but, I feel like some people have their places where they cry and let everything out. You know what I mean? But it's good for you. It's good to.
Yep.
It's a shared experience. We all have those moments. Sometimes when I'm in my car, and particularly, I'll yell at a traffic light if I feel it's necessary. So it's personal, but it's a shared experience. That's important. I'll yell like the primal, like from deep within, man. You got days like that. It happens.
Exactly. I was gonna say, as you both being like full-time workers and then parents too, that's like sometimes on probably some of your only alone time during the day too when you're in that car. So it's like that's sometimes if you don't want to like cry in front of the kids or like have like your moments in front of the kids, like that's your time. You know what I mean? It's kind of like your sanctuary. Like you have like the car and it's just
For
you
sure.
and God. Definitely.
Yeah. And steering wheels are pretty robust. So if you need to like give it a good jab, you're good. You're good.
Yep. Wait, I think there's like a meme or something out like where a guy gets mad and he hits the steering wheel. I gotta get that. That's so funny.
Yeah, that meme is probably about me because
I think it is you actually. I got it.
Roy Jones that steering wheel sometimes, man. Mayweather on it.
Exactly. I completely feel that the car, like it's like you can also like you can like you said meditate. You can even listen to like music. That,
I was gonna say that you just took the words out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't meditate enough myself for sure. It's something I used to do a lot more. I don't do it as much. I used to work overnight, so I would do it when I come home in the morning. But one thing I have gotten really good with almost every day, I do it. I jot down. I use like a gratitude journal, and I do like 5 things that I'm grateful for every single day. So whatever I'm thinking about, I did it today. I actually missed a couple days like last week, but I always try to like every single day. I just keep this little. I got it right here. I just got this from like Walmart. It's like a little brown journal. And I just I mark the date on it, and I just jot down what I'm grateful for every morning. Like I try to.
Do you think anything changed from the days, like from you starting this? Do you think like your attitude or how you feel?
Yeah, because sometimes when I'm frustrated, like during the day, something will work or something like that. I always try to like think back, like what did I, say. Yeah, you try to remember the things that you jotted down that you were grateful for, and then sometimes I'll add like a side to it, like just to write down like how I'm feeling in that moment or like that day or something like that. So I got like a job interview, something like what I mean. I think it's important to jot those things down, but I definitely have personally seen a change. You know what I mean?
That's wonderful.
Good.
I actually do that too. I like every morning when I wake up. And I would assume that it's a shared experience amongst you guys. Like you ever wake up in the morning and you're just tired and you're like, man, I sit on the edge of my bed for like an hour, bro. But like the first thing I say to myself in my head when a thought pops up that I don't feel like working, I've conditioned myself to also think, wow, but I also get paid to talk to people. There was a time where I had to break my back to make $1, like working. I used to work at the Kmart off of Academy in Frankfurt. When I was in college. So not having to do that anymore and telling myself, hey, I get paid to talk to people. It's pretty awesome. It sort of changes my mindset and it's like a complete 180. I go from not wanting to work in the morning to, okay, this ain't that bad. This is a job. I can feed my son, pay my bills, and that's what you have to do. You practicing that gratitude journal, you're conditioning yourself to think positive thoughts. And that's the name of the game in the world, like the one we live in,
Exactly. I like that conditioning. Absolutely. Because if you do it one day, it might not have an effect, but it's like anything, going to the gym, like doing this, building positive habits. It's something you condition yourself to, and you'll see the change over time as you condition yourself to it. Doing it for one day isn't probably going to change anything. It might have a small effect on you, but it's not going to be anything lasting unless you condition yourself.
Right. You have to be consistent for sure.
Yeah. Conditioning isn't, people will all day, the first day of the year, it's the last day of November. It's fitting that we're about to be in December, but January 1st, everyone says, I want to go to the gym. I want to get healthier. You can see a physical change. Typically when somebody starts to work out, they'll build muscle, they'll slim down, less fat, they'll maybe have a little bit more energy. The thing is, you can't physically see the changes that take place in the brain. So people don't put as much stock into that as they do. You don't see as many people saying, hey, I'm going to work hard to condition myself to think positive thoughts, as you do see people say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym and build some muscle. I think if people could see like that physical change, it's not an instant gratification. It takes place over time. But once you start to notice the difference, you realize how valuable it is to practice those exercises.
Absolutely. And that's actually a really good point. Yeah, because with the gym, you see the physical changes. Yeah, and it's the crazy thing about it is like physical health is obviously great, but like the craziest thing is nothing could actually be probably more important than our mental health, because without the mental health, you're never gonna have like the motivation to like even make those physical changes. So your mental health is so important. It's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, coming back to what the quote was, comparison is the thief of joy. Yep. Sometimes you can be your own thief. If you're not taking time to do those things for yourself, you're kind of robbing yourself of opportunities to be happy or content. Or, sometimes we're so preoccupied with other things that we're not noticing all the beautiful things taking place in front of us. I literally have to physically tell myself sometimes, Cory, work is over. You're home. You're with your son. Like, get out of that mindset. Whatever shit took place, it's over with. Be present. So I say that to myself so that I don't rob myself of the opportunity to be happy when I'm with my kid or playing Xbox or something. So
exactly, taking that time to decompress. No, I completely feel that. It's sometimes I feel like we overcomplicate or overcomplex our lives too. It's like when things don't have to be as I know like a lot of people like they like, I feel like they multitask their way through life. It's like if you actually just focus in on like certain things, it's like our life doesn't really need to be that complicated. I was actually just talking to a friend the other day, and he was like telling me about he's doing this, he's doing that, he's got like 5 million hobbies going on, this and the third, and then like he's like can't find time to like level up his career, he wants to make money, and I'm like, well, because you got like 5 million hobbies going on, it's great to have them, but I'm like, maybe just do 1 or 2 for now. And then, like you can't, there's only 24 hours in a day. You can only juggle so much. And I'm like, those other things will still be there. You know what I mean? When you like level up this portion of your life. You just can only do so much. I feel like we overcomplicate ourselves so much, and that's a stressor too, and that kind of can cause mental health issues. It doesn't have to be depression, but it can build anxiety for sure. Like
1,000%. It's time in and of itself is a concept that the human brain wasn't designed to understand. You know, at our core, we were designed to understand the sun is up and it's light outside, and the sun is down and it's dark. You know, it's time to be awake and it's time to sleep. So managing time is something that's really hard, and comprehending, you know, nobody wakes up and say, okay, there's 24 hours. So for the 14 hours I'm awake, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You sort of have to break it down in a way that's more manageable. I usually go like, I will literally go hour by hour, you know, like I can only do what I'm doing now. This is what I'm going to do for this hour. Everything else I shut out. So managing your time that way makes it a little bit easier to be on top of things without having to multitask so much that before you know, the day's over. And it makes it easier to make time for mindfulness and, you know, checking in with yourself.
Exactly. And I feel, yeah, because that, you're right. The concept of time and everything, it's like not really for us to be understood. It's like, and then the more like we're multitasking, and we feel like, I feel like when we multitask a lot too, it was like a popular concept, like people multitask, but they say if you're dabbling in like a million different things, it's very hard to master any one of them because you're
1,000%.
dabbling in so much.
That's a good quote. You know, it's kind of toxic. So multitasking is something that's like praised, you know, and the corporate world loves if you're able to multitask. But sometimes you shouldn't, because some issues require more time than others. You know, especially to yourself. I mean, and the people that you care about. You know, multitasking is a nice way to get multiple things done. But like, should you really have to share the time that you're dedicating towards yourself with anything else?
Yep. Absolutely.
It's that important.
It's that, yeah, definitely. That's so true. I was gonna say, like on the podcast when we talk personal development here, I try to say, I'm like, if you want to break life down into like, I think like 3 of the most important things in life are your health, your relationships, and your finances. Like building your legacy, building your finances. I think it's like the 3 biggest things, and like that's a simple way to pull life. Just breaking that down. It's like if you work on growing and garnering your relationships, friends, family, kids, it's significant others, you work on growing those relationships, you work on always, taking care of your health, eating correctly, working out. It doesn't have to be every day, but, a few times a week. And also taking care, not just your physical, but your mental health as well. And then focusing on, trying to build your wealth for your family and everything, go out and provide for your family. Like those 3 things are like, I think, when we simplify life, are like 3 of the most important things.
I completely agree. I would go as far as calling them core tenets.
Yes.
I can't imagine that at the end of my life, I sit down with whatever God is in heaven and I watch a movie of my life and like say to myself, wow, you made time for those things that probably weren't really worth it. Like, of course, finances are important, but the only people that are going to remember that you worked 60 hours a week are your children and probably your girlfriend or your wife. But yeah, I mean, I would say that the order you gave it, your health, your relationships, and then your finances, they are an order of importance as well, because your health always comes first. You got to be here to, do things, your family, because they need you and you need them just as much. And then finances allow you to do things for yourself and your family. So yeah, I think those are very important, and everything else, is still important, but it can probably fall to the wayside. Absolutely.
Because I mean, say you work from like 20 to 40 and like you're overweight, you're about to die, and like you made $50 million. Well, that's great, but I'm like, you're never going to be able to, you might have built that money for your family, but you're never ever going to be able to experience any of that money anyway, because you didn't take care of your health. So it's like, what really health is definitely the most important. I think if you can build discipline in your health, you can probably build discipline in any other area of life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if I see somebody that's like super like ripped or something like that, I just know, like, if they're disciplined with their body, they could probably be disciplined in any other area, because it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to be disciplined when it comes to like your physical health. And then obviously mental health too. That's one thing that we don't focus on enough. It's like, yeah, physical health, like you said, you can see the changes. But mental health, you might be making a lot of progress mentally, but a lot of you can't say it. It's like,
it's a holistic approach. So I mean, it's I would imagine that there are probably a rare breed of people that are able to focus on their mental, physical health and the well-being of themselves and those around them. But yeah, being able to do so is definitely. I mean, even though I would feel that I'm somebody that's probably incapable of doing that, especially since I vape. But like it's something to constantly be worked towards, because if you work towards and you chip away at it, I know there's probably people listening that say, "Hey, my lifestyle, I can't afford to eat healthy food. You know, I can afford what's available. Right? Like I don't have time to go to the gym. I have children. I have a job, but it's still something to work towards. Even if you do a few push-ups a day, you know, or you try and eat mindfully at least for one meal a day. I mean, it's about that start, you know, and that's the hardest part.
Exactly. Like, yeah, if you're going like food options, you don't have to go always organic options and stuff that's super expensive. Maybe do something that's like store brand, you know what I mean? And just like, you know, you're buying chicken or just buy store brand. Do what you have, do what you have to do, what you can afford. Just healthy options. And then, like you said, with the gym, you don't have to technically have a gym membership. You could do body weight exercises. You don't have to run on a treadmill. You could go for a walk outside or a run outside. And
oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
I've been walking lately.
That's great. I actually just did. I just did like a little 4 or 5 mile walk before the podcast a little earlier, like after I got done work, just because, you know what, I'm like, it's like 50 degrees outside today. I'm like, you know what, I don't feel like going to the gym. Why don't I just do something outside where I can just like put my headphones in, go for like a little hike, a little walk, and then just, you know, kind of get you in tune with nature. And you know what, I felt a little stuffed, like, you know, working, because I work from home, so like I'm working in like this little office setting. It's like getting outside, I think, is important. Like if you can get some fresh air,
absolutely, it's important. I mean, there are there's something about being outside, the sunlight, the air. Sometimes I make it a point. I have like a rather large backyard, so like I'll literally walk outside with my shoes off just to feel, you know, the ground.
Oh, nature, man! Wow.
Yeah, it does something for me, man. Like I don't know how I come back.
No, it's scientifically proven. I think like if you say you walk bare feet.
Yeah, I'll take my shoes off and walk on my grass for a little bit.
Yeah, they said it's very healthy. It's natural and like healthy for us to do that. I don't. You got to look it up. But they said it's really healthy for us and that we should be doing that. Like we're not really supposed to be wearing shoes.
Yeah, it's those little things. You find what works for you. I mean, if it's something that's harmless and it can trick your brain into being that much more content, then do it. I mean, you know, it's not self-destructive. It's not hurting anyone else, and it's, you know, helps. Some people take a lot of showers, you know, just having the water hit your skin.
It might sound weird, but that was actually like with my anxiety and stress. I actually, every time like I felt like I had an episode or a flare up, I would get in the shower. Like it has honestly saved me. I don't do it as much anymore because I'm a lot better, but that was like my way of coping and like calming myself down and meditating in the shower. So that's crazy.
I would do that as well. I worked a corporate job and I was in a cubicle all day. And you know how it is, you know, in the office culture, I would come home and when I would get in the shower in my head, I was physically washing the bullshit of the day off of me. So yeah, it's helpful, man. Those are the little mental things that the little tricks and tips that you can utilize in your life.
Absolutely. Let us say this article I have here, the section, the number one thing it says, support network number 2, number 1, it says do one self-care activity. So it says one of the hardest things to do if you're anxious or you're depressed is to follow a daily routine. It's one of the hardest things. It says sometimes you might not feel like bathing, brushing your teeth, or putting on fresh clothes. However, if you are feeling this way, pick just one self-care activity. It could be just simply taking a shower or changing your clothes. Might just completely reset your mood. So
1,000% it is.
I've tried that with the brushing of the teeth. Like I already brushed my teeth in the morning, but like say I'm down or whatever, I'm like, all right, let me just refresh myself.
Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy how the littlest things can like really change your mind. Like money can change your mindset. That's the crazy thing for some people. I've seen people be miserable and as soon as they get money, it's like they're a total different person.
Yeah, organizing like a space for me, or like just like, you know, just taking like 5 minutes to like vacuum my like space in my office, like that. Like to me, I'm like, you know what I mean. Every single day, I try to wake up and like just build a small habit. I try to make my bed, you know, drink my stay hydrated, journal, like and then just check things off. You know, take my vitamins like every single like morning. Just try to start out with like one small win before hopping into like work or like going to the gym or whatever. Like the big activities of the day, you know what I mean? Like you just do like the small things, and it's like I kind of feel like that's a snowball effect. It snowballs.
It is. It's the fortunate thing for people that may be experiencing depression is, everybody, the way everyone feels is different, but at the core of it, our brains are the same. Let's see, walks by the river and going out for a nice drive always puts me in a good mood. That's good. That's awesome. Being near water, it puts like 50% of people in a good mood. So, absolutely. But yeah,
Definitely.
it's important to do those things because they work. You find what works for you, and if you don't know what works for you, try different things, and you'll figure it out eventually.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And great point, Mario. Good stuff. And then let me say good work, nice episode, guys. Always like to give people their credit. So if they commented
Thank you.
it,
Thank you.
yeah. So let me see who it is. Just
I
to
like the engagement.
uh
Engagement is always key. It's the best thing ever because I feel like this is so important because a lot of people don't get to vent about it. And it's good because we're all humans. Like, we all experience these
yes.
things. And it's good to just be able to relate to others.
1,000%. We're social animals at our core. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely are. There's actually
We
George.
need we need each other, like, in order to feel good. Like, it is so healthy to vent and to talk to somebody. Like, people don't understand how important, even if, like, some people, it's hard for some people to socialize, but it's so important for them to let that stuff out because it heals them. I really believe that.
Yep. That's why we say support network is so big. If you got people around you that you can trust and you can talk to, it's
Even
great to
getting a
have.
therapist, like, I
Yep.
remember I just got a therapist this year, just to have someone just to vent to, right? I
Yep.
wanted to see how it was. A lot of my friends already were into it, and I was like, I'm never going to a therapist, like, and everyone was like, you should try it, it's really good, like, you don't have to have
therapy is important.
a
Piggybacking
lot
off
of crazy
of,
stuff. Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Yep.
now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you don't have to have, like, mental illness, or, like, you might not be dealing with depression or anything. It's just still good to go talk to someone. Just like, even if you don't have friends, it's good to have a therapist, I feel like. Um,
Yep.
but I recently got one, and it has been a game changer for sure. Like I said, I was embarrassed and like, ew, like, I would never do that, but it definitely has been a game changer. And like, they help you realize certain things you don't realize. They point things out, and they just help you. So
Yep. I was gonna say another thing I think people don't talk about enough either is maybe being the spouse of somebody that is dealing with like mental health disorder, could be depression or anxiety. I think that's another a big one because you do have to take care of yourself if you are like the spouse of someone, but you also can be a good support system for them. But I feel like a lot of times something like depression can affect the partner as well. You know what I mean? Because if you're dealing with
Sure.
it, so that's another thing I don't think is talked about quite enough. But it's important also to, you have to essentially be, if you have somebody that is dealing with that, you have to make sure your own mental health is in order so you can be able to be a support system for that person. Because if your mental health is in shambles too, it's going to be very difficult to be that rock for that person.
1,000%. And it's I mean, if you have a loved one that's lost in a forest, you want them to have a map to get themselves out, but you also need a map to get to them to help.
Exactly.
So you're starting to see it a lot now with mental health. Like you have people, like you said that yourself. You never really dealt with depression personally.
No anxiety, but like anxiety and stuff like that, but not like
Same,
clinical depression or anything like that. Yeah, we're
same
still,
here. But
yeah,
like having somebody, like having a friend or a partner or a family member that experiences it, you'll see a lot of people. Like I work mainly in substance use. So like I have clients who have spouses or wives or husbands that are alcoholics, or maybe they deal with substance use disorder. And like you'll see the spouse that's non-substance addicted, they'll go to support meetings for the families of people that have spouses that are substance users. So like you have a bunch of people that don't use substances in this meeting, but they're learning like, hey, this is how you cope. This is how you cease enabling behavior. This is how you help your loved one, and this is how you can be there for them while setting these boundaries. Same thing goes with mental health. I mean, if you're somebody that doesn't deal with it, but you have somebody that does, you can always brush up on the resources and read articles and things like that and learn so that you can help them and you can know the appropriate ways to be there for them.
Absolutely. I was like 19 years old or 20 years old when I first had experienced someone around me that had depression. Like it was like clinical depression, and it made me. So it was like I'm 31 now, so it's like it was like over 10 years ago. But I like that kind of made me like do my research on it. You know what I mean? To kind of understand more, and like still like it's something I'll still do research on because I have people around me that deal with various mental health disorders. But I'm obviously even though that's important to understand too. That was a great point because even though you might not be like a licensed professional, you can still do your research and understand to be able to help where you can. You know what I mean? Just by understanding, you know what I mean? What not to say. We can also dive into some triggers too. Like, so certain things can trigger people too. So it's good to understand triggers and things like that. And then kind of try to avoid what you can. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's I mean it helps to like even if somebody that doesn't deal with depression or anxiety, identifying your own trigger because everyone is I mean, it sucks that the word trigger has been like hijacked by like certain crowds to like hurl as an insult at other people. But I mean it is what it is. Identifying your own triggers, knowing what may make you upset or even make you feel down. Everybody has unique traumas and have had different experiences in life. So trying to avoid those triggers with like people that are close to you or your partner. I know there's man, it's sad and I don't want to get into this too much, but even children have triggers because, if they've been through particular traumas, which is something I deal with a lot working in child welfare. But yeah, everybody has triggers. I mean, and some of those triggers follow people throughout their lives and are significant to them. So identifying your own triggers can help you sort of work to know what people close to you, what their triggers may be. It's helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the sad part about it with children is if they deal with traumatic experiences in the household, usually sometimes that's where it can start at an early age, and it's unfortunate if like they carry that like essentially PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, throughout their life. Unfortunately, some of the things it's very unfortunate. My buddy Rich, who's on here a lot too, he works as like a therapist with children from like essentially broken households and tries to work with them. He said just working it, it's so sad. You know what I mean?
It is. The way I view it, I mean, it may sound dumb at first, but from a mental health and a mindfulness aspect, all of us, we all have that child inside of us, those formative years to sort of influence the rest of our lives. So, whatever your triggers were, it sort of follows you, it's like a label, and you can never really shake it. I mean, you can learn mechanisms to cope and you could talk to people and make them not as significant, but they're always there. So, I mean, it's like once you know what somebody's triggers are, it's a helpful tool navigating through life,
Exactly. Absolutely. I think one of the big, so like when I was looking at like this article, it was like the biggest, like some of the most common triggers, the number one that comes up is grief and loss. So people deal with grief and loss in different ways. But one of the big things is it says there's different ways it can manifest. So depression is one of them, anxiety. Candace, let me add her back in. It says this is not a big one. Substance abuse. Substance abuse is one of them. Sleep disturbances, high stress, like hormone levels. A lot of different things can. The grief and loss is like that's inevitable, right? Everybody's going to deal with grief and loss in their life,
Right.
But it can trigger people in different ways. You know what I mean? Everybody's different of how grief and loss triggers them, and sometimes it depends on who it is too. Like if somebody who loses their mother or their father in early age, it's tough. You know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
It really depends on how close or who it was to you. You know what I mean? It could have been a really, really good friend, could be a spouse, unfortunately, a child maybe. But grief and loss and like how to. It's one of the biggest triggers for mental health issues.
1,000%. I mean, emotions at their core are ways for humans to socially express their needs to others, whether it's anger or, sadness, or which can manifest itself as depression or anxiety or a mix of them all. I mean, so when you identify triggers, you fulfill a need. So if I'm someone that's upset and, I'm conveying that to you or someone else, a way of satiating that need would be, consolation, consoling that person or providing emotional support. So like people expressing their emotions and being aware of your own triggers is a good way to be aware of your own emotions. But it stays with you. You know, that's why it's important to identify it and work through it where possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So grief and loss is pretty obvious trigger. Some of the ones towards the bottom here that might, I mean, they're still kind of obvious, but they're less than I think, but it's still, these are huge triggers. Financial issues, financial stress is one of the biggest ones. Money in the world is one of the biggest stressors. It's stressors in relationships. It's stressors just in general, like for many people, mental health wise. Life transitions, so transitioning to a new job, and maybe you really don't like the job. I've seen this firsthand with people that I know, can cause mental health problems, could trigger depression. Another one is substance use too. Substance use,
big one,
huge. We see it too, like living in like Philadelphia too. You see, like, we obviously have a big, just in general, a big opioid drug problem going on.
Largest open air drug market in the continental United States.
Huge. It's horrible. I mean, if you're anywhere, it can be anywhere. Like, it doesn't really. I mean, obviously, North Philly is a big area for it, but it doesn't have to be North Philly. It could be Northeast Philly. Like, you even see this in the surrounding areas too, like Levittown, other spots, but. We have a huge problem here with that, but that can definitely trigger mental health issues for sure.
It's everywhere. I mean, I live in like what some would probably term an affluent suburb, and you see it over here, and it's not like just homeless people. It's moms, it's dads, it's moms dropping their kids off at the soccer game that deal with it. I mean, it can affect anyone. It's scary.
Cory, do you remember you posted a picture about like you was walking? I think you took your son out. I'm not sure, and it was like a needle right next to like a
I remember that.
Something.
Yeah, a lot of people shared it. It was actually like a big potted. Remember those potted plants they put on Frankfurt Ave a few years ago, and it was just there was probably like 200 syringes in there, man. It was pretty wild for me to see.
Wow.
Yeah, it sucks.
Very much so. It's sad. It's really sad. It's like, and then like the more that we have that around us, it's like the more, people from an early age get involved, you know what I mean? Like with certain things, because the community, because like essentially, even though it's not normal, I feel like in this city, a lot of times, people think they have nowhere else to turn. So they just turn to substances, or they're, easily, swayed at a young age. It's unfortunate. And then they kind of normalize it. And not normalize it, but like it feels like, in Philadelphia, like, it's normal. Like I'm not gonna. They just they normalize it as a part of their life, because they're just like, I'm not gonna make anything about. You know what I mean? Like low self-esteem.
1,000% correct. I mean, a lot of people, drugs sort of trick your brain and change the way that your brain makes connections. The part of your brain that tells you, hey, our core functions are to eat, sleep, shit, and reproduce. It adds in there like, hey, we're also going to do these drugs. And it changes, our biology, the way you think. It changes your motivation. It hijacks your risk versus reward stimulus, it's scary. And it's hard, but not impossible to treat. So again, going back to triggers and mindfulness, I identify like, hey, what are those triggers are important, because somebody that experiences repeated trauma and repeated triggering is probably more likely to, be someone that will suffer from substance use disorder.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then I think the biggest thing with triggers is just to just understand, like, some of the most common triggers, understand what your triggers are, and then just try to be aware of them and try to, I think just understanding them is the biggest thing. Like understanding, like, I know this will trigger me, so like try to like stay away from what you can, and then like I said, that's why support system is huge. And then if it's needed, licensed professional, they can help like you assess these triggers and help you find ways to cope around them. That's why like coping techniques are important. But I like what you said earlier too. It's, even though coping techniques can help you in the moment, obviously these things can pop up and they can be continuous throughout your life. But just understanding how to deal with them and how to cope is some of the biggest things. That's why it's so great if you can have a really good support system around you. It's great.
1,000%. It's kind of like monsters, when you're a kid and you think there's a monster under your bed, you have no idea what it is, and it's the scariest thing. But as you grow and you gain more knowledge, it becomes less scary to the point where you think, oh yeah, they don't exist. It's the same thing with triggers, with traumas, and behavior in and of itself, with behavioral health disorders. Coming back to why we do the things we do. Once you understand that more, it's less scary. It's not like paranormal or unexplained. It's something that you'll understand and that you'll know how to avoid in the future.
Absolutely. It's like educating, understanding some of the biggest things, for sure. Yeah, and Kandyce said the mind is so powerful. Yeah, it is. Your mind is like your biggest tool. Like we need our mind for everything. That's why I say, like, as much as physical health is obviously important, your mental is it's paramount. It's the most important, because you know what I mean? If your mental health isn't in order, it's going to be very difficult for you to work on any other area of your life. Obviously, certain events trigger different people. I know some people that have been through things that like nobody should ever been through in their entire life. It's very, very sad, just very personal experiences. And it's essentially triggered them to a certain level of depression. But like one of the biggest things is they always deal with certain, like it pops up every now and then where they're going to deal with something and they tend to withdraw or self-isolate. But the thing about it is they find ways to cope, and like they've taught themselves over the years, and they still are very, like, a couple people I know who dealt with like clinical depression, they're very successful people. Like they've built a very successful life for themselves. So you can still be very successful even though you do deal with it. Just understand that if you are dealing with it out there, you're not alone. There are a lot of people that go through it. There are a lot of good support systems. There are a lot of resources out there. There are support systems and support networks for you, and it doesn't make you. It literally does not make you a bad person. It doesn't make you, an outcast because you're going through what you're going through. Just understand that there's people out there, that are going through situations, and there's people out there that will help.
Absolutely. I mean, that is so important to realize, and you got to really a crucial part. I would say that 95% of it is knowing the signs. Now, everybody's signs are different. Sometimes, like especially with workaholics like myself or yourself, Steve, the signs are different for everyone. So sometimes I get so wrapped up in work, and I know that I don't feel the best, but knowing the signs, like maybe I'm not making my bed every day like I used to. Maybe I'm not, taking as much time to make sure that, I look appropriate. Maybe not getting a haircut, not shaving your face, or not taking showers, or brushing your teeth. Those things are signs for most people. But like I have a colleague who was like a CFO at like Merck Pharmaceuticals, super successful.
Wow.
House, got the Mercedes in a driveway, has the money to meet all her needs. But, even though everything on, around looked fine, there were still other signs that, things weren't as good, So it's important to monitor those things in yourself and in the people around you. Because then, you could do an inventory check with them. Hey, is everything okay? What's going on? What can I help with? I'm here. So
Exactly. Because we could work somewhere making a ton of money, but the thing about it is, if we don't really love what we do, and it's great. I know they tell you when you're a kid, love work and do what you love what you do. It can be difficult sometimes to love what you do and make a lot of money doing it. But you can really find something that you really love, you literally enjoy the work you do. You feel like you're really making an impact in the work you do, and then on top of it, you're being compensated because kind of like when you love what you do, it kind of shines in your work, and then you're going to produce at the top level of what you do. That's great. But a lot of times you can, like you said, you can be a CFO. I know people that make a lot of money that they're generally not happy because they don't really enjoy what they do, but they enjoy the money. But it doesn't mean you're happy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Happiness is never a sacrifice that you should make. I know we sacrifice time. We sacrifice a bunch of things in the name of being able to provide for our families, but happiness shouldn't be one of them. Happiness is a core component to the human experience. Happiness is not something that you want to skimp on. And if you're doing something that doesn't make you happy, maybe there's something that I call it like the lesser of the evils. Like for a person like me, I mean, what I do now, I get satisfaction out of it, and I feel like I have a purpose. But in terms of happiness, just find something that doesn't feel as bad, and try to do that.
Absolutely. Understand the importance of family and support system around you. I saw something actually the other day, and it was like a quote, and the person said, the one employee coworker passed away the week, I think it was like 5 days ago, and it's like they're already in the other room making arrangements to fill her position while there's a family that are grieving and they are literally setting up a funeral for this person and grieving. It's like just a reminder that you're not as important to a company as you think you are, and to always make sure to make time for your family, because those are the people, family could also be friends. I know some people that might have estranged relationships with their family, but they might have friends that they consider family. People that are around you, family could be anything, but like anybody who's close to you. But always make sure to make time for your loved ones, because those are the people that you're always going to have an impact on. Whereas like your job could just replace you the next day.
Absolutely. And if you're ever like at a loss on what to do, it doesn't hurt to consult with someone else. I consult with my dad all the time, because our life trajectories are very similar. And sometimes I remember there was one point in time where I had started a job, like, I was a few months in, and I was unsure, like, hey, son's got a field trip coming up, I want to go, but like he can still go if I don't, like what if I didn't take off for that, and I took off for the next one. He was like, are you crazy? Like, go. Like PTO is there for a reason. Take it. Why are you feeling guilty? If one of your other coworkers had something they needed to take off for, they would. So consulting with someone else never hurts if you're confused on what to do.
Absolutely. That's something I try to be better with too. I get so much PTO. I get like a ton, like that. I know if I leave my company, I'm not going to have as much as I do. And I need to be better with like taking days and stuff, because I'm just like, I like that overtime, because I'm not going to get that rate if PTO gets factored into it. But like, it's just like at the end of the day, it's important. Mental health is important. You need to take PTO days. And another great thing today is paternity leave. That was a thing that was not a thing really back in the day. So now fathers can take that time with their kids when they're first born.
My brother-in-law just has it. 4 months.
You should be able to take it. The world isn't nice to parents, but paternity leave is important. And also for everyone listening, if you are working and you are going through something, a bonus of consulting with a mental health professional or a doctor regarding it, other than the satisfaction you get for doing so, is there's the Family Medical Leave Act. There's FMLA. So if you're dealing with something and you have a legitimate diagnosis, you take these papers to your doctor, they fill them out, you give them to your job, and if you need to take off and you don't have the PTO to do so, it protects you from losing your job or getting fired.
Yes, it does. Look at you, HR in the building. Okay.
Yeah, I used it, man.
And they have short-term disability as well that covers your behind, and that's for mental as well.
Shout out to Aflac. But FMLA, definitely look into it. Definitely use it. It's your right. Don't let HR tell you otherwise.
Yep, he's absolutely right. I work at finance, but I deal with a lot of payroll stuff. So it's absolutely take that time. That's one thing I do like about my organization. Like, I feel like nonprofits are very much like that, very much mental health oriented and stuff like that. Whereas like maybe corporate like jobs and stuff aren't as much like, but I know my company, like they're very big on mental health. So they tell people, if you're struggling, take those days like that you need.
Yeah. There's EAP as well, and so employee assistance program. If you really don't know who to talk to, and as a last ditch effort, I would utilize EAP, because you don't want your job and your business, but they could always give you a bit of time off and direct you towards mental health professionals at no cost to you if you don't have like an employer sponsored health insurance. So EAP, FMLA, important stuff.
Definitely. It's all important for sure. I think we kind of covered everything tonight. I mean, we talked a little depression, some anxiety triggers, coping mechanisms, and ultimately, it was very much conversation based. It's kind of just like a conversation, but just here to spread awareness, guys. I guess like the next 5 minutes we can take to kind of wrap up here. But first, before we even like get to that, I just want to thank you, Cory, you and Kandyce, both coming on. Appreciate the insight you guys dropped tonight.
I've never been on a podcast before. I don't really do public speaking, but it was nice being here. It flowed very well. The time went, real fast. So it's nice, and yeah, as I said, if anybody has any questions or needs help finding resources, I know a bunch of them. I'm happy to help.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah, if you need Cory's information for whatever reason, I won't just put it in the comments. That way, like it's like you never know. Like people on YouTube could like see. I just don't like to put people's personal information
Yeah,
out.
must be, I hate that guy. Don't ever have
Yeah,
him back again.
yeah, I'm gonna spam his email. Yeah, I would never put cell phone numbers, email addresses ever out to the public for people. Now it's different if they have social media. You know what I mean? You can choose to follow or not. I always put people's social medias, but obviously you're not on anyway. But yeah, if you guys for whatever reason, if anybody wants Cory's information and needs assistance with anything, just let me know. Send me a personal message, and I can give you that information. And then yeah, I'll also put in the comments here. So Layla Ozer, she came on before. She works with. I always like to put this on here because she works in Montgomery County. So if you're near like the Philadelphia area, there's a mental health facility. It's a medical clinic. It's called Talia Medical Clinic, and I'm going to put it up on the screen for you guys. You guys can check that out. Another good resource. They have provide a multitude of mental health services. They even do ketamine treatments too. And I had a buddy, Bill, that kind of came on the podcast. It's supervised ketamine treatments, essentially in a controlled environment. And he actually came on here and told us the experiences that he went through. It was like 5 different treatments. And it was very crazy. But he said the end result was put him in a very good headspace. But he's
it's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, he said, I can't imagine if I stopped after 3 because he said he was in such a bad headspace at the 3rd one because I think that's what it does. It essentially beats you down or however it went for him. He said then when 4 and 5, it brought him into like a whole new perspective. It like changed his whole perspective.
Yeah, I know a guy that was he was in the army in like the mid-90s during the whole like Bosnia thing, and he's seen some real like atrocities, and he went through the treatments. And the way ketamine works is I believe it's a psychoactive drug or possibly a deliriant. And I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing that when you're being infused or when it's administered, like in your head, you're confronting all the real ugly things that were underneath the surface.
Yeah.
It sucks as it's happening, but the end result is, I mean,
yeah,
it's better.
He said crazy visualizations. It essentially beats down your spirit at first, and it kind of brings it back up. It kind of just changes the whole perspective. If you're ever interested in that one, I'll send it to you. I forget what episode it was, but that one was it was one of our most popular episodes.
That'd be cool. I'd really be interested to see that, man. What a time to be alive that something like that is available medically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it was like a year ago or so. He went through. He shared that. So yeah, I'll definitely send you that episode after. I'll send it to your email so you have it.
Good for him, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's my buddy Bill Plymouth, guys. You probably have seen him on the podcast before, so he did that before. And yeah, but yeah, no, this was honestly a great episode. Like I said, the more we can spread awareness on mental health, anxiety, depression, and those aren't the only 2. Those are 2 of the most common and talked about, but like there's a lot of different things out here. If there's anything you ever want us to cover on here, guys, just reach out to me and let me know. I'll try to do as much research as I can and just, try to put together an episode for it and bring on people that are very familiar with whatever it is. But yeah, let's just keep spreading awareness on this, and it's important. I want to.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, Kandyce.
Yeah, we can all do our part to raise awareness and spread awareness. I mean, just this in of itself is immensely helpful. It's a public forum for others to, I would guess, watch and then go back and peruse whenever needed. So yeah, doing your part is important, and it's fulfilling. It's you're giving, but you're also getting something back. So.
Absolutely. My buddy Mario Kandyce, a great show. Thanks, Mario. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Mario.
Yeah, no, it's important. I think when you have a platform too, it's important to like try to cover what you can, because that's a good thing about having like a platform, like a podcast and following and stuff, and like, building a brand. It's like you can essentially, even if you just touch one person, you know what I mean? It makes a difference. So
it really does.
We talk personal development on here all the time, but you can't be your best self and do personal development if your mental health is not in the correct spot. So mental health is important.
Yeah.
It's the forefront.
I just want to take the time to acknowledge the research you did in preparation for this, man. You touched on a lot of really important key points that, like, even I myself, as somebody that works in mental health, I'm not sure that I touch on completely when I talk to clients. So it's really amazing that you took the time to do that.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, especially with these like episodes, I think that like with like I mean, I try to do my research for any episodes, but we mainly talk like personal development, sports here. Personal development, I need to have all the facts. I feel like sports just comes very natural to me. So like,
Yeah.
I don't unless I'm finding like specific statistics, but I really enjoy sports. So like for me, it's very natural. But yeah, I think it's especially with mental health very important to have as much like accurate and statistical information as I can have because I don't want to say the wrong thing, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely understand. It's important.
Definitely. But yeah, I really thank both you. Kandyce, thank you for coming back on the podcast. You've been multiple times. And Cory, thank you for joining us for the first time.
Thank you for the invite always.
Absolutely. And you're both welcome on the podcast, anytime, if there's anything you guys ever want to talk about, just hit me up and, we'll find time to schedule an episode. And we usually schedule like 4 to 6 episodes at a time in advance, me and George, when we set these up. But yeah, if you guys ever want to come back on, or if I ever think there's like something that you guys might be interested in coming on, I'll reach out and
please do.
We'll do it again. Absolutely. So hey man, for the first time being on a podcast, so there you go. You can
thank you. Yeah,
to knock that off your bucket list.
Yeah, my bucket.
Podcast. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, again, thank you guys, and I just want to say, have a great night, great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. And Cory, I'll send you that episode.
Thank you, good sir. I'm sure I'll see you around somewhere.
Have a good night.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Take care. See you.
See ya.
All right. Good night, guys. Bye.
All right. Yep.